بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. When Umar was on his deathbed, some of the companions of the Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, asked him to appoint a Khalifa after him. Now Umar done something that no one before him had done. He started a system which will be copied after him until the day of judgment in terms of appointing an Islamic leader. Now what exactly did Umar do? Join us today from Sham, the land of jihad and ribat, till the coming of the hour to find out what Umar done.
للطريق مشاعل الأنوار هم للنسيم عبيره الفوار قادة رفعوا التميز راية هم في العزيمة همة الأنصار هم للطريق مشاعل الأنوار هم للنسيم عبيره الفوار قادة رفعوا التميز راية هم في العزيمة همة الأنصار هم للطريق مشاعل الأنوار هم للنسيم عبير الفوار.
Umar said, if I choose to appoint, then he who was better than me had appointed, meaning Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. And also, if I choose not to appoint, then he who was better than me, meaning the Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, did not appoint. So what Umar done next was something unprecedented. He chose 6 of the companions of the Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, 6 of those of the 10 that had been giving glad tidings of Jannah whilst they were still alive, and he said, between the 6 of you, choose a leader. And he made the right of election just in these 6 people who, this concept we've spoken about before, the concept of Ahl al-Hal wal-Aqd, or those who make decisions based on the collective Ummah. The 6 companions that Umar chose were Uthman, Ali, Abdurrahman ibn Auf, Talha ibn Ubaidillah, Zubayr ibn al-Awwam, and Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. These 6 companions were 6 of the 10 that were given glad tidings of Jannah whilst they were still alive. Now, there was another companion that was still alive of the 10. He was Sa'id ibn Zayd. But the reason that Umar never chose him, or never elected him, even though he was eligible for election, was that he was related to him. So he didn't want people to accuse him, or he didn't want to make some kind of fitna or some kind of problem, because he's a relative of Umar ibn Khattab, and he didn't want people to say this. So we can see that from this particular action of Umar ibn Khattab, the hadith of the Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, رحم الله امرئ جب الغيبة عن نفسه, that Allah has mercy on an individual who pushes away the talk of the people from himself, meaning that he doesn't allow people to speculate about him by being straightforward in his actions, and also by doing things that don't allow people to speak about him in a bad manner. So now, Umar ibn Khattab gave clear instructions. He said that these companions should go to a particular house and they should stay in this house until they make a decision of who is going to be the next leader of the Muslims. He didn't allow anyone that was from outside these particular 6 and the people that he had put in the house with them to leave this house until they make a final decision. of who the next Khalifa will be. And now, so Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas chose Abdurrahman ibn Auf as soon as they went in. Zubayr chose Ali ibn Abi Talib, and Talha chose Uthman. So now these three had given their votes, meaning that they don't want it for themselves or for themselves. Abdurrahman said, I don't want it for myself. So the only two that were left, that were up for election, were Uthman and Ali radiallahu anhuma. May Allah be pleased with the both of them. And now, of course, Umar had set a particular time. It wasn't open-ended. He said, you only have 3 days to make this final decision, and you must, within 3 days, make a final decision as to who the Khalifa will be. And also, one thing that is important to note is that Umar put other people with them in the house that he trusted, people that he knew. He put, for example, Suhaib al-Rumi to lead the prayer during these 3 days. He put Abu Talha, he's not the same as Talha, he's another Sahabi. He put Abu Talha and Miqdad ibn Aswad as governors. And he also put Abdullah ibn Umar, his son, just to, in case, for example, there's a tie, like 3 votes for a particular person and then the other 3 companions vote for a particular person, that Abdullah ibn Umar tries to break the tie or gives an opinion. And he also, just so there's no suspicion on him, what he done is, or he's not accused of anything, of placing his son or anything like that, he said that if people are not happy with Abdullah, that's fine. Whatever Abdurrahman ibn Auf says, that is what's going to happen, and that's final in case they want to defer or they don't like the opinion of Abdullah ibn Umar. So we can see from this particular incident that the concept of a shura, or discussing amongst the believers, is a concept that is clear in Islam, is clear in the Quran, is clear in the Sunnah of the Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. It's also clear in the actions of the Sahaba. However, the way that it happens, there's no set way. It can change, and actually it should change based on time and place, meaning that the way that shura is carried out can change. It can be based on a particular system that the believers or the Muslims agree on. It does not have a particular format that is set in concrete and that people should stick to. No, rather it should change based on time and on place. Abdurrahman gave himself a bit of time to think about this final decision, this monumental, this huge decision, and he spoke to a man called Miswar ibn Makhrama. He knocked the door of Miswar ibn Makhrama and he said it was 2 o'clock in the night, it was 2 a.m. or late in the night, and Miswar was asleep. The family members of Miswar said, Miswar is sleeping. He said, wake him up, wake him up. So of course when they woke him up, they knew it was something extremely important. So Abdurrahman said, I want to sit down with you and I want to discuss something. I want to discuss something extremely important. I want to discuss who's going to be the next Khalifa. So they sat down for hours until the Fajr prayer. And Abdurrahman of course said, I have not slept for 3 nights, Miswar. How can you sleep when there's an extremely important decision that impacts all of the Muslims, which is on my shoulders, which has to be made? So Abdurrahman hadn't slept for 3 entire nights at this particular time. So towards the end of their sitting, Abdurrahman said, I have looked in all the houses of the Muhajirin, I have looked in all the houses of the Ansar, and I don't think that there is anyone more suitable or better equipped for this huge task than Uthman ibn Affan radiyallahu anhu wa arda. So here we see the importance. Sometimes maybe someone has an important decision to make in his life, or something which is of extreme importance. So it's good to consult someone that you trust, someone that you know, someone that maybe has knowledge or maybe has wisdom or is a good friend. So this is what Abdurrahman done in this case. He couldn't come to a conclusion by himself, and he felt that it was his responsibility to speak to someone that he trusts, someone that could help him out. And even though Abdurrahman was one of the most knowledgeable of the Sahaba and from the best of them, nonetheless, this doesn't mean that the person that you speak to has to maybe know more than you, maybe he can know less, but maybe you trust his decision or you trust his judgment. So that's fine. Actually, it's a commendable action to do. So what Abdurrahman done next is that for the Fajr prayer, he went to the mosque of the Messenger, or the masjid of the Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, and after they prayed Fajr, he appointed Uthman. He said, I have given my bay'ah, or my pledge of allegiance, to Uthman ibn Affan. And so the entirety of the Muslims there gave him bay'ah, and there was no one that disputed this after this particular bay'ah was given, or this particular pledge of allegiance was given to Uthman as the leader or the ruler of the faithful. No difference of opinion. So amongst the things we can learn from this story of the election of Uthman radiallahu anhu is that the system of governance in Islam, or the system of election, is flexible. There's not one particular way of doing it, as we have mentioned before, and rather it can change, and it should change based on time and place, based on what's most suitable. And we see this clearly from the actions of the Sahaba, to the fact that, first of all, the Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, never appointed anyone. Then Abu Bakr appointed Umar, and then Umar allowed these 6 companions to appoint someone from amongst themselves. So we see that the system of Islam is flexible, and that there's no particular way of, there's no particular one way, I should say, that that all must follow or all must adhere to, but the general concepts are laid out in the Quran and in the Sunnah and in the actions of the Sahaba, and there's flexibility in that. And also, another thing we can learn is we see that from the actions of Umar, that clarity is extremely important, especially in difficult situations. Because Umar ibn Khattab here, when he told them to go into the house and they only have 3 days, and that he put someone, in case of difference of opinion, that his Abdullah ibn Umar or his son makes or gives a suggestion as to who should be the Khalifa, and if people are not happy with Abdullah, then Abdurrahman ibn Auf should be the leader. All of these things indicate clarity. All of these things indicate that there should be no room left for the waswas of the shaitan, or there should be no room left for any misunderstandings or anything like this, or any interpretations. Everything should be clear to avoid these things. Also, another lesson we can learn is through the action of Abdurrahman ibn Auf, that he consulted someone. And as we said, in order to consult someone doesn't necessarily mean that this person is better than you, or maybe is more knowledgeable than you, or has more wisdom than you. No, but rather you can consult someone because sometimes, as people, this is our nature, we need someone to speak to. The Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, who was the best of creation and who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used to reveal the Quran onto, used to consult Abu Bakr, used to consult Umar ibn Khattab, and at other times he would consult Ali or Uthman or some of the other companions. So for someone to consult doesn't necessarily mean that the person who's consulted is better than he who is consulting. No, rather it's a general concept in Islam which we should live by. What advice did Umar give to Uthman in his last moments? And what was so important and so monumental about this advice? Join us next time to find out how Umar ibn Khattab passed away, where he was buried, and the advice that he gave to Uthman radiyallahu anhu wa arda. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.